So I guess this is the Easter video. I've got two takes of things that I've already articulated that I've not uploaded. And I spent the whole weekend thinking because that's my tradition. And Easter means so many things for me. Not like sentimental. I just mean as far as like a belief system and the holiday and everything that it pertains to in all practices and aspects. Boy, I tell you what, tonight I was stricken by the countenance of Persephone, Ishtar. Oh, man. The things I am privy to, that's a blessing to count. And I don't mean this in some weird, sarcastic, degenerate, dirty minded. Sit down with me and have a long conversation about some of the books I've read, the experiences I've had in life, some of my opinions on some of the deeper spiritual metaphysicals of implications of some of these ancient texts and whatnot. And then understand the context in which what I've said about the countenance, I'm not, holy moly, like there's a mythos and a theory, and I may have seen an avatar there for a second. It was wild. She ended up getting locked out of her hotel room, and I rode the elevator down with her to the lobby where she was getting the key to go back up with her food. And she didn't tip me. But a more aesthetically perfect face I have never seen. And jet black hair, ice blue eyes, and mumbling something about it being her first day here. And I'm like, just it's a moment, it's an experience. It means nothing literally. That person is not literally that goddess, but for just that moment, for just that experience, for that little dreamlike segment of many that is my life, that was what that was. And man, I am reminded of the time that I drank all the mead that was bong water and the bowl over and the presents and man, it was a very interesting day. The tips were good. People were in somewhat good cheer. A lot of folks were not ordering because it was Easter dinner and they were with their families, and I think that's a good thing. And I basically was with my family because I'm here with my cats now, and they give two shits about Easter. Um, so I was at work, and it was a good night and very surreal all night. The circumstances of the lunar phase and the holiday. It's I believe the Easter falls as a technicality on the calendar, which is so funny that there's all the advocacy against horoscopes and all of that stuff, but they have a lunar calendar that decides the holidays with the exception of Christmas on December 25th. And Easter, I believe, is the first Sunday after the full moon, after the uh, equinox, or solstice, sorry. And so that would be, I guess, technically, now is yesterday. still on a white hot other side or reverse wizard's moon. What a night. I don't know, just like spiritual insight was gained. As far as the holiday celebrated by Christians, I take that part as kind of, not to put it too lightly, that the need for God to experience ego death. And in doing so, that act had to happen in a literal sense. And the way multiverses and whatever seem to work is that anything that is possible will occur at some point in some iteration of an infinite number of universes, an infinite number of times. Just how things like infinity work. And whether it's in some weird wuxia style, alternate, Dragon Ball Z movies versus the series, or whatever, that the death and subsequent resurrection of Jesus symbolizes on earth an activity that takes place in an order completely different of everything in the universe is component of this thing which is of itself aware on some level, and thus has an ego of some sort. And ego death is necessary for healthy psychology. It is what it is. The people that don't ever suffer or deal with ego death, they never really have a long dark night of the soul, tea time, whatever. I guess that would be anyone with lacking introspective or anyone with really unhealthy levels of narcissism. I am personally intimately familiar with that process. I use it often. And I can appreciate the idea of the forgiveness that is included in all of the components of the infinite all self or whatever that is existence. Like, we're all part of it. Like, to separate self from God or from each other is kind of inane. They're one and the same. So, likewise, Easter is really the more important holiday than Christmas. Christmas is cool, but it's like the real birth of Christ was somewhere in September. And we don't know whether it was in old September of the Roman Empire or if it was in current September by the calendar, which makes it a lunar thing. So, Easter's the real important one, and it happens to coincide, as does Christmas, with Yule, with the spring. And there's another myth. That's the one that people like to bring up when they like to give grief to Christians about it. It's like, that's not my intent here. There is also the story of a goddess who, in a few different mythologies, has goes into the underworld for half the year and then comes up for half the year. So I believe the summertime is when she's up and out and things are bright and great. In the wintertime, when it's cold and nasty, you got old Father Christmas or something comes out instead, which is why the Yule celebration is such a important thing, because it keeps people like in good cheer in the middle of wintertime so that they can endure the dreariness of January and February until it starts to get better. This is old pagan times. This is before electricity and heat, other than a fire. This is ancestral memory ritual, which is effectively a type of paganism. So, the pagan fertility holiday at the springtime, the renewal, the, he goes under, she comes out thing, takes place in the springtime, and the correspondent to that, I believe, is like Halloween, or what is it, a Samoan if I'm saying that right. So, Easter to me is a, really kind of the actual north point, but it's the east point apparently on a compass of the calendar of significant pagan holidays. But it's like there's, I mean, tidal energy and all kinds of other interesting effects that can, factually speaking, mess with your consciousness in interesting ways. Um, it affects people, it affects their behavior. It makes me question free will. It makes me question the nature of what we think is reality. And it makes me question whether or not we will ever leave this planet. Because I think we are intrinsically tied to it as well. So, anyways, that's my bit on Easter. I can't believe this is such a short video, but thankfully I've managed to convey all the information I think I need to convey, and if there's any question about any of the things that I've mentioned in this video, feel free to leave a comment below, ask a question, make sure you hit the like button, and yeah, I will either make other topic videos or I will explain in the comments depending on the length of the necessary answer. So yeah, spring has sprung. It's Easter time. Chocolate marshmallow rabbits or almighty ego death. I don't know.